Hello and good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Breakfast with Boom. As you can see, we have a new intro at the incredible courtesy of Sean Labrie. And obviously, that guy is just aces. If you are looking for work done for your channel, I can't suggest a better, dude to make your intro. And he did that with just, hey, I'm going to give you my logo, go crazy. I told him what 3 characters I wanted in the opening, and he came back a couple of days later with that madness. And he even got the boom from the boomers from Gears of War in to open it. I mean, wow.
Cheers to that, Boom.
Yeah,
Cheers to
no, I
that.
knew you were going to dig that. I knew you were going to dig that. But listen, folks, it's Friday, and guess what? The Sony numbers are in, and crying, lying, dancing, Jim Roos, Ryan. Guess what? PlayStation isn't going out of business anytime soon, even if the ABK deal goes through. Holy cow. I got some salt to spill today, and guess what? We're going to keep on the Sony train with PlayStation VR 2.0. As of 10:17 this morning, 10:17, 9:17 this morning, folks. I checked. I went to PlayStation.com, the official site for anything and everything that's PlayStation. And if you were interested in spending near $700 on their new VR system that comes with the new Horizon game, it's still available for you to pre-order and even get the day it releases. And that report about Sony halving their numbers to only 1 million PlayStation VR 2.0 units is apparently true because, as you know, PlayStation hardware, if you don't get it pre-ordered, well, you normally won't be able to find it. That's been the case for PlayStation 5 for quite a while. And even the new controller is sold out in many places, their new Elite controller. So I think what it really does say, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is a very expensive device. This is a very niche. VR is very niche, and I don't think anybody wants to invest. At least I'm not certainly investing after the way I was treated as a customer with PlayStation VR 1.0. As you know, I've told the story numerous times. I bought the first one. I upgraded to the HDR pass-through model, and when they stopped supporting it after about a year, I was stuck with a VR unit that had some good games, but I just recently got rid of 30 physical disc games because I like buying Sony stuff physically, especially with the VR. And I wound up trading them into GameStop for pennies on the dollar. Only because, well, you can't have backwards compatibility with Sony stuff because, well, that's just how they are. But we're also going to get into some new information about Titanfall, the new campaign potentially bringing back BT canceled, and that is very sad. But before we get into it, Crispy Bomb, you saw the topics, you saw what was going on with Sony, and of course, the best voice in the business had to be here today to give the salt where needed. How you feeling, brother? Good morning.
Well, we give Xbox the righteous smoke, and you know what, Sony,
Indeed, we
you're,
do.
you're gonna get it today, man. Because this is what we do. Let's take content away and just wait for it to get charged more, or some kind of whimsical thing that they're gonna do to somehow say, okay, well now this is worth more. I'm just waiting for it. It's gonna be funny, but let's get into it.
Yeah, we are going to get into it. And what Crispy is referring to, folks, is it was reported by everyone pretty much that Sony is removing. Now, there's a lower tier. There's 3 tiers, right? There's premium, which I just paid for, which is fine. There's the medium, and which has a lot of great games. And then there's the lower tier. And the lower tier had something called the PlayStation Plus Collection, and it included 20 really good games. And well, like Sony, who has bent their community over the barrel more times than you can shake a stick at, they're removing it in May. So if you are someone that is a lower tier member, you have up until May to claim these games, and you will have access to these games after May, as long as you stay a PlayStation Plus member. Now, anyone after May will not have access to these games because they are being removed. So again, Sony, instead of adding value to their subscription service, is removing value, and there's no one complaining about it. There's no one in the big media out there with the torches and pitchforks. And you know what we get? Sony, it's okay. You know, they're the market leader. They can do what they want. F that. But let's welcome in Dave. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing real good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I feel bad that you already had 5 meetings, and it's not even 10 past 10. Hopefully, the rest of your day is nice and smooth.
Well, it should be, but I'm supposed to get off at 2, but they've scheduled me another meeting now for 1 o'clock, so I have to clock back in just to jump on that call. But it's all right. It's part of my job, man. Got to do what you got to do.
Listen, hopefully you have a much better weekend, and you can end Friday on a high note. But thanks so much for being here. Dreadpool, 2 questions, brother. I know you're tired. Did you have your coffee? Number one. And what did you have for breakfast?
You know, you had to mention coffee. I literally ran out of coffee, so I have no coffee. I put in my 80-hour week today, no coffee, but
no.
I'm feeling a little spiteful because my daughter also drank the last bit of milk, and all I have here is chocolate chip cookies. So I'm doing chocolate chip cookies and milk
with no milk. Devastating.
Like just water. That's all I got is water.
Oh, gee whiz,
so,
dude.
no coffee, no milk. It is what it is. But boom! Oh my God! I got to tell you, I love that intro.
Oh, thank you, brother.
That
Sean LeBrie knocked it out of
awesome.
the park, dude. Like, you know, it's funny. I was talking with Mrs. Boom, and she had made the suggestion that she goes, you know, you got to use this in your multi-plat shows. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I think you're onto something with that. So yeah, that is going to be the new intro for Breakfast with Boom moving forward. And Sean LeBrie just, I mean, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, I love the old intro, the you know, the POD.
Yes.
One, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't want to give them any credit for nothing because, you know, of the situation. But
yeah,
I love that one and the bass and all that. But I love the way that this one hits. This one blows that one out of the water.
I appreciate it, brother.
That one will always be a classic, but this is my new favorite.
Thanks so much, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, shout out to once again to Sean LeBrie for delivering. He said, "Yeah, what, where do you want to go with this?" I said, "Okay, listen, I want to use Samus because she's not oftenly used. I want to use Joel because I'm a big fan of The Last of Us, especially the TV series and the game." And I said, you know, everyone uses Master Chief. How about some Marcus? And like I said, I didn't. You know, you watch it originally, and you're so enthralled by what you're seeing. I didn't originally get the boom that it says in the beginning, and he got that from the boomer, and I'm like, my God, this guy's got talent. But appreciate that very much. And last and no way least, Fuzzy Belvedere, you've been a little salty on Twitter. I've been watching you, man. You're like a ninja when it comes to this kind of stuff. I can't wait to get what you have to say about Sony and their shenanigans. Oh, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to be here with you guys. Man, it's going to be a fun one today. But man, it's so much fun. Just, you know, watching all this new gaming news, some drops for Game Pass and some tests. What was it? Not Genshin Impact. What is it? Guilty Gear is out there now. So
yes, Guilty Gear Strive, dude. That looks so freaking good, man. I love that studio.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fun weekend, but man, can't wait to get into the topics on this show. Glad to be here with you guys.
Well, you know what? Let's get right into it, folks. Let's take the Band-Aid right off. And I gotta bring up the financials and shout out to Tom Warren. First of all, for 2 reasons. One, Tom took the time to pop into Wednesday evenings primetime gaming. We also had special Nick jump in as well. It was a pretty wicked show. If you missed that, go check that out. Tom Warren wasn't on the show. I'm going to get you, Tom. I'm going to get you on the show at some point or another. But he was in the chat, which is pretty cool. And thanks to Tom, and many people reported it, but I specifically like going to Tom Warren, who is, of course, with The Verge. And he put out a tweet for Sony's third quarter earnings. And folks, I'm here to tell you that it's actually not a surprise. Sony is killing it. They are making bank. They are making money hand over fist. And I think really what is happening here, okay, and you saw the losses that Microsoft took. Now, they did grow in like Game Pass. We don't know the specific number. They did have some increased value in a few things that they did. But for the most part, like a lot of people, Google, Apple, they all took massive losses in the third quarter. But you know who didn't take massive losses? SIE, specifically PlayStation. Because here are their numbers. Check this out, folks. 7.1 million PlayStation 5s were shipped over the holiday quarter. And check this out. Up a massive 82% year over year. 46.4 million PlayStation Plus subscribers. Now, that's down 4%. They currently have 112 million monthly active PlayStation Network users, and PlayStation software units were down 7%, but revenue is up. All right, so why do we care about Sony's numbers? You ask. Like, are we you know, like, is this going to be poking fun at Sony? There's literally nothing to poke fun on. They killed the third quarter. They were one of the best in the third quarter market. So I bring this up today because we heard last week that Jim Ryan, who is who he is, right, flew out to Brussels last Wednesday once again to EU or European regulators to say that how bad it would be for Sony if Microsoft acquires Activision Blizzard. Now, I know there's going to be some people in the chat, oh my God, they're talking about this again. Hey, listen, door's right there if you don't want to talk about it, but this is news. And I'm going to cover it because people are asking me to. And, you know, I gotta do what the people ask. Well, Frank X. Shaw. Who's Frank? Who's Frank? Well, I'll tell you who Frank is. He's currently the lead communications for Microsoft. And he put out a tweet that is simplistic in its nature, but really holds a lot of weight to the conversation that we're about to have. And he says this, folks: Sony, the main complainant to the Activision Blizzard deal, announced their financial results. This makes it clear why there needs to be more competition in a market that they mainly control. Now, I get it. He's a Microsoft dude, but is he lying? Is he fibbing? Is he changing narratives like Sony has over this deal? No. The truth of the matter is that Sony, who has been the market leader for over 2 decades, continues to be the market leader. And I've said this before. They, because of their dominance, because of their current power as market leader, can turn the horse or the industry wherever they want, unchecked and unchallenged. And that is a problem. And it is a problem that really needs to be addressed. And who is going to address that? Well, that is the near $3 trillion company who did have poor management for years in making decisions when they only had 5 studios. And then when they started to realize that, well, there was money to be made in gaming, we saw the changing of the guard in 2017 with Phil Spencer getting a big seat at the table. 2018, post E3, 5 studios, the initiative was made. And ever since then, they've been building their castle. And this is now the biggest piece, Activision Blizzard King, right? Now, you know, I understand Call of Duty is, oh my God, Call of Duty is a big thing. Call of Duty makes money. It absolutely does. But if you are someone that likes numbers like I do, we know that it's not about Call of Duty. It is a bonus. King and Blizzard, PC and mobile. That's where Microsoft wants to be a part of it. The Call of Duty thing is just a bonus. But I want to go first to Crispy on this. Crispy, it is pretty crazy to see that just last Wednesday, Jim Ryan flew out to here, there, and everywhere once again to pitch his case on how terrible it is going to be for the entire market. Forget that he's defending Sony. It's so bad for the market that but Microsoft can't be allowed to get Activision Blizzard King. And then we see these numbers come out yesterday, and you just want to give him the finger. I'm sorry. It is just ridiculous that, again, the main complainant, the one entity that has been against this acquisition is the one that not only is the current market leader, but one of the few entities that have tremendous success in the third quarter, where Microsoft, Google, and Apple all saw massive losses. Let's talk about it.
Dude, it's like literally he goes out there and then, this comes out and it's like, you knew your financials, bro. Like, do you want to just shove your foot right in your mouth? Like, are you, I just don't get it. Like, and nobody calls this out. It's like right now that's incompetent. This is incompetency at this point. And you prove it by, having huge gains, which we all knew was going to happen. I mean, you had God of War come out, et cetera, et cetera. Also people wanting the VR, even though, Boom has pointed that out. But at the same time, you have all of these different things that are coming out in this third quarter. We knew it was going to be good. Did we think it was going to be this good? Probably not. It wasn't looking like that immediately. And then all of a sudden these numbers come out, directly after he goes there and complains once again. What are you complaining about? You complaining about being the market leader and, overcharging people, like immediately out the gate, rather than, saying, okay, well, now we got to do it. We're going to let you know. You know what I mean? Taking content away, dumbing down your services, charging more for a service that, basically is not even close to the equivalent of Game Pass, like all of these things. And like me as a gamer, I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I'm not a huge Call of Duty fan, but if it's in Game Pass, I'm probably going to play it. You know what I mean? So give me that option. I haven't played a lot of Call of Duty campaigns. It would be nice to have that backlog there. So I'm going to be a selfish gamer and say, Jim, just shut up. Like, just shut your mouth. Okay. Because when the subpoena, this is why you keep pushing it back. You're afraid. Microsoft's going to bring a big old smoking gun when you got to sit down in front of this judge. I'm going to tell you right now, they probably have more information than you even realize.
It's funny to that point. I want to add context to what you're saying about, we know that Microsoft subpoenaed them and then, they're pushing about, we need more time. Did you know, Crispy, that they weren't the only ones to subpoena them? The FTC just subpoenaed the paperwork from Sony regarding this case, and they gave them until the 15th of February to respond. So now the FTC is who look like now the FTC, they look like a bunch of boobs. Like
and
right?
Boom. This is where we go and say the turd is gonna hit the fan, bro. All right, the turd's gonna hit the fan. Because if you look at and these are public knowledge, like stuff like this can be brought into the case, and this is where you go and say the things that they have just recently done in the past couple weeks is a prime example of something that is right in your head, and this can be used. This is public knowledge. So this can be used in the case. And this is where you go and say, it is going to be extremely hard for this not to go through. And I think after the Meta thing, the FTC is going to have a lot of trouble. And I think that's why they kind of went right after Microsoft, like, let's get Sony in here. Cause we've heard a lot of things, but it's not really looking that way. That's what I'm thinking starting to happen here.
I agree. Look, I'll say this. You don't have to be in 1,000% invested into gaming to do a simple search on Google or on Edge or whatever flavor your browser is, and see who the market leader. On Wednesday's show, just for more context, folks. If you ever wanted to know, let's say, for instance, you're just finding the channel for the first time, and maybe you don't know what the brand recognition numbers are. Well, I'm gonna give it to you today, right? Now, I'm not talking about SIE proper. I'm talking about PlayStation. The PlayStation brand, folks, in the entire planet, which is pretty big, is number 7. Right? Number 7. It's the 7th most recognized brand in the entire world. Do you know what Microsoft was? And it could have moved up and down. The last time I checked was 86th for Xbox. Think about that for a hot second. 86 versus number 7, right? So, yeah, Jim Ryan has a lot of explaining to do. Scratch Acid in the chat asks, how many times can we? How many times can they say we need more time? There is, look, I can't say personally I don't understand business law. I can give you a case subject to chew on from a police officer's point of view. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the case, but it was a rob case, right? Guy robbed somebody, we catch him, got the stuff on him. It should be open and closed. Their attorney kept postponing. And I would go to court and I'd be like, okay, I got my stuff ready to go, and I'm ready to get on the stand. And they're like, no, we need a postponement. On the 4th postponement, the judge told the defense attorney, if you try to postpone this again, I'm gonna charge you with contempt of court. And he had to do the case, and of course we won, right? Because it was a rob case. He was cut and dry. So yeah, can they get into some sort of trouble? Yeah, the judge might get annoyed and be like, you know what, I'm not giving any more extensions. This is when you have to be here, and they would have to be there. That would be up to the judge. And usually after a few, they're not going to put up with it because they know that there's something afoot. And Sony's going to have to respond, and whatever Microsoft is asking for, they're going to have to present. I don't. Again, I can't specifically say with business law. I don't really know. I can tell you about criminal law. It's fine, but I would imagine it's somewhat mirror image to some extent. Look, at the end of the day, we just learned that the EU Commission has already sent their charge sheet to Microsoft regarding their concerns. Microsoft came out and they didn't make a public statement on it, but we did see a statement that was put up by MLEX that said that they intend to work hand in hand with the regulators to quell any concerns that they have and get the deal done. The FTC is a joke at this point. I mean, does anyone here that lives in this country have faith that the FTC can actually do anything right? They just lost their 8th case. And they lost to Meta because they tried to use an abstract or obscure law for business that the judge looked at and laughed. So what do you think is going to happen with Microsoft? They're going to be laughed right out of federal court. That's why they didn't go to federal court. So they're going to have to come to the table and eventually bend the knee. But Dreadpool, let's get you in on this conversation. Again, the Sony numbers, they speak for themselves. They're making hand over fist. They continue to be the market dominant leader. Again, it's pretty funny how Wednesday of last week, Jim Ryan was flying and lying and crying. And this week we get the numbers, and their numbers are just, they're one of the best number packages for big tech. Pretty ridiculous.
Oh no! Congratulations to them. That's awesome numbers.
Yeah.
Too bad. I understand why they're doing it, because they have to. That's how they got there, right? They didn't get there out of goodwill. They got there because they're playing cutthroat business, because Nintendo screwed them over, and they've got it in there that they don't like it, and they want to one up everybody, and they've been doing it ever since. And they've been. Sega didn't need any help. They did it to themselves, but they get some credit for taking Sega out. You know what I mean? So you look at it and it's like, wow. And these numbers, you guys remember when we had the national disaster with the hurricane coming through right up the Gulf Coast, and the oil companies were crying? So PlayStation is reminding me of this. They're sitting there crying, like the oil companies, that they're reporting record losses, but yet they still had record profits. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, we can't do this because of this, but yet in the meantime, they're winning anyway. and increasing prices. They're playing these tactics of this is what we got to do because we're losing. We can't do this. We can't survive. And yet, no, you're more than surviving. You guys are eating lobster and steaks while you're pretending to be sitting there eating ramen like the rest of us. No. So I'm glad that it's out there and now people can see how much, and this, business is cutthroat. You can't just, it's not kumbaya, but, you got to have some sort of goodwill to humanity somehow. And there's no goodwill here.
Well, I have a question for you. Obviously, you work on safety. That's your business, right? But you understand big business. Here's my question. How stupid does the FTC look right now defending Sony's interest and putting out there that their market lead would be hurt by when you look at these numbers versus what Xbox did in the same quarter? Does that not make them look so ridiculous? I would be embarrassed to be a part of the FTC at this point.
This is egg on your face. I mean, day one from the get-go, we're not going to talk to you, Microsoft or Xbox. We're just going right into it, and we're going to hold you guys responsible for monopoly, and you know what I mean? We're doing all this, and we're not going to even have any concessions. We're not going to do nothing. And yet, you see what's going on, and you have people with my PlayStation, you have people, and I know that's not the FTC, but still, you have that kind of mentality that it's my this, my that, and Microsoft bad, anything Xbox bad because it's related.
Well, it's always been that way. PlayStation good, Xbox bad. It's like that in the media, like literally right now.
Yeah, everything is like that, and it's just it's so funny that we had what the head of the chair, whatever. No, the other guy, Pi, whatever his name was, that was
the former head of the FTC.
Yeah, that guy. So it's like they don't have a clue of what they're doing, and and they're supposed to be holding a government body and trying to hold other companies to certain standards to make sure that it's fair for the customers. But yet that guy wants to, he ended up taking out net neutrality and then ended up laughing and creating videos, right? He created videos using songs, laughing at us, the public, laughing at us at the public. And yet he still got copyright strike for using copyrighted material. But you see the mentality here. Yeah. And then here's Lena Khan doing the same, not literally the same thing, but kind of the same thing. We're not paying attention to the constituents that they work for, technically.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? So, and it makes no sense. It's like they have a hard head and they just put their nose to the ground and don't want to hear nothing about nothing. They've already formed their opinion. They've already formed their I mean, it's like the worst of the Judge Dredd series. You're judge, jury, and executioner, but actually you don't have any clue of what's going on. You can't, at least they understood what was going on. These people don't.
Yeah, they took a very hardline stance from jump. If you remember what she said, we're not in the business of making deals. It's their responsibility to have things squared away before they come to us. Lena Khan also said, we don't care if we lose, but we're going to hold up. And like I said on Wednesday's show, they're currently being sued right now by a company. Axon is suing them for that exact practice, which is considered unconstitutional. And the Supreme Court is going to be ruling on that, and they're probably going to lose that as well, Dredd.
Yeah, and it's like the boomer generation, right? With computers, they all lost their jobs because they used to be, using typewriters, and now you don't need as many people using typewriters because you have a computer, and that was my grandfather. They all hated computers because they lost their jobs, and it's like, but look at what it's also created. It's created more jobs in different fields, in different ways, and these people just don't want to look and see what the possibilities are. They're just steadfast against it. So they don't want change, they don't want this, they don't want that, and it's like, get off my lawn. And like, you're not that old. You're supposed to be a little bit more hip to technology and what's going on to know, okay, well, you know, when this phone company buys this phone company and then they buy this other phone company and they're buying this other phone company, oh, wait a second, we could be leading into a monopoly here. You know, what are our options? We don't have that many options anymore. We're losing it because they're not being competitive. You know, we only have 3 major brands now that are competitive, and everybody else is small cheese to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the only thing that's holding them back, is because there's actually smaller upstarts. Well, where's the smaller upstarts here? You only have 3 main companies.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
When it
in
comes
phone
to consoles,
in phone, you're not starting. This is not gaming. Like, look, perfect example of what you're referring to is, look what happened at Playground Games. 10 people left the studio, and what they do? They started their own AAA studio. How many times? How often does that happen? Pretty much all the freaking time.
yeah, all the time. And that's the thing, is these little indie and you can call them indie, right? Because they're independent. You know, for whatever reason, indie gets a bad rap for whatever, you know, but they're the ones that push gaming and the new genres. They're the ones that create these genres. They're the ones that usually do all this, and then the bigger companies siphon off of the creative talents that they've had for their ideas, and then make it bigger and better and put more money into it. And now you have these AAA games. You know, henceforth, here's Call of Duty where it's at, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is you have the ability to do all this, you know, and then they still have the ability to sell off if they want to, you know, and that's what some of them do. They create these businesses. I mean, even in my field, one of the companies I used to work for sold off, right? So we're gone. There's nothing of us anymore. And a couple of years ago, I saw another vehicle with the logo on it. Literally everything was the same. The guy started up another business, and
Wow.
that guy that owned those businesses, that's what he would do. He'd literally start up the business, and 5 to 10 years, he'd build it up to a certain amount of money, sell it, make bank, and then start up another business somewhere else in another field. And now he's back doing the same one that he already started and sold off the name and everything. And it you know, and that's how business is. You know, you do all this stuff, and then some people will just compete, you know, repeatedly create, build up, and sell off.
Well, look,
But they're not doing that here.
No. This is Microsoft's opportunity. Like I said, this is the deal is happening this year, but their focus is 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
As soon ultimately, folks, the problem here isn't that Sony is going to lose Call of Duty, which they're not. That's already been confirmed. They're going to give it to them for 10 years, and Sony's going to have time to do something else. Hopefully, they bring back SOCOM. But listen, let me bring in Web Dave and Fuzzy. But before I do want to catch up on the super chats. Been quite a few of them, and a big one just came in. First of all, Smokey, who's a good friend of the show, has been a channel member for over 22 months, brother. Thank you so much for that. He says, "Happy Friday, everyone." Of course, thank you so much for supporting the channel, and happy Friday to you, dude. Gerald Mack, good friend of the program, who's been a channel member for over a year, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Shout out to Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick, and panel. Great to see you guys." Well, it's great to see you, brother. Thank you so much for that. And of course, thank you for the generosity. Tom from Toonami, who's been a channel member for 2 months, drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he says, "At some point, you have to wonder if someone higher than Khan comes in and tells her to drop the case or go for concessions." Yeah, I mean, she's the head, obviously. She's the head chairperson at the FTC, so she's running the ship. But there is someone higher than her for sure. And I think ultimately, someone is going to have to sit down and have a conversation, because when you put out into the ether, I don't care if we lose every case, we're just going to be gumming up big tech just so you can gum up big tech. That's illegal, folks, and that's why they're being sued right now. But listen, ultimately it is going to go through, and you know, they're going to have to. I think what's going to happen is the CMA and the EU Commission are going to ask for certain concessions. Microsoft is going to agree to certain concessions. They're gonna allow the deal to go through, and whatever those concessions are going to be presented to Lena Khan and the FTC, and they're going to have to bend the knee and take them, because Microsoft isn't going to give anything more than that. They've already said if they get passed in the EU and the CMA, they're going forward. Lena Khan will then either have to take them to federal court, or will have to let the deal go through, and they'll just accept the concessions, and that's the way it's going to ultimately go. We have CR Wimpy. What's up, brother? Thank you so much for being here, and of course, thank you for the outstanding generosity of $20. He dropped a $20 super chat and says, "Off topic, but Kenya Bridge of Spirits coming to Xbox. Should I finish it on my PS5?" By the way, if you missed out on Kenna, fantastic PlayStation exclusive, gorgeous graphics. It had a very Cameo, if you remember Cameo from the Xbox 360 days, kind of a feel to it. I didn't know. Thanks so much for the hey, Mr. Badbit is here. Hey, Joe, we're gonna get to you in a hot second, brother. Thank you so much for popping in. How you feeling?
Hello, is this thing on? Hello.
Yeah, it certainly is, brother. How you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, brother. But yeah, like I said, we will get to you in a hot second. But yeah, so yeah, definitely. I don't know, man. I mean, if you're close to beating it, why not get the trophies on PlayStation? If you enjoyed it, play it again. Kenna is fantastic. I didn't know it was coming to Xbox, and thank you for that hot information. Thank you for the generosity. And Leonard Herrera, who's been a channel member for 6 months, just dropped a very generous $20 super chat. Leonard, thank you so much for that, brother, and thank you for always supporting the channel. But Dave, you're our money guy.
Mhm.
Sony put up some impressive numbers. They sold a lot of consoles. They're going to be breaking 30 million consoles worldwide soon enough. And they're out here, and Jim Ryan was out here flying around last week talking about, well, you got to block this deal because it's bad for the industry. When Sony's one of the few, publishers that were actually making bank. What are your thoughts on this, man? I mean, as our numbers guy on the panel, does this particular numbers package that has been put out by Sony or SIE proper, do the regulators look at this and say, well, they are the market leader and they're the ones that are rebel rousing and causing all this trouble? I don't think they're really concerned about the industry at large. I think they're more concerned about their hold on the industry. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, they do look at these numbers. As much as we think, they must be blinded by this, they look at everything and they don't really disclose, their viewpoints until later, even though it sometimes, it seems like they're definitely all super sided on Sony. I mean, it's, and there's some points to their side that they want to bring out, but Sony clearly is making a lot of money. They are the market leader by far. They are not going to be hurt by this deal, especially with Microsoft saying that they're going to, give them 10 years of parity. They don't want that, though. They don't want parity. Sony wants this to not be on Game Pass ever. They can't compete with the Game Pass when it's going to be in full form. And they know that. They see it coming, and that's the big thing, is they don't want Game Pass to take over the market for them. And it has the chance to do that. I'm not saying it will, but it definitely can, or definitely give Microsoft a big leg up being able to put their stuff day and date in Game Pass, because they won't. Sony, technically could do it, but for them to have this day and date in their service, well, they're going to have to pay Microsoft for that, because if Microsoft owns the franchise, then that's where it's going to have to be, because those things just pop in there for free. They pop in there as a paid,
Yeah, they have to pay a significant amount of money, especially when you consider how much money specifically was made from PlayStation alone for Call of Duty this year.
Yep.
It was in the high millions for just that particular platform. So if they wanted it, at minimum, they'd have to pay what the maximum dollar amount was, and that could be upwards of $600, $700, $800 million.
Yep. It's some big money
for the 1 year. Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, they're if they can stop the deal, they won't have to do that. That's the way they're looking at it. So they're going to do everything they can to try and stop it because they don't want that to happen. And they're, you know, going to play hurt as much as they can. And Microsoft is doing some of it too, for the simple fact that it's, you know, it's a business, both of them. And they're both big companies, but right now Sony has the clear advantage as far as their you know, their lead in the marketplace. Right now, the thing that Microsoft wants to do first is to close the gap.
Right.
This will definitely help close the gap. This is not going to make them jump into first place, or maybe even second place for that, but at least closing the gap, which by closing the gap is billions of dollars out of Sony's pocket to close the gap, and they know that's it's coming. It's just a matter of when, and it's coming probably a lot sooner than we think. You know, they've put their basically right now it's back in Microsoft's court, and they will answer everything that they can. This is all right. You say we're a problem, then you want this deal. You know, you're afraid of the deal. Well, here's what we're going to do for it, and then that'll be the concessions on the table. They'll take a look at it. The other side will take a look at it, both the EU and the Commission, and they'll like go from there. It'll bounce back and forth a few times, or they may just be like, okay, cool, this answers all of our questions. We accept the deal. But it is coming, and no matter what, Microsoft will continue to do their back and forth until they get it done. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I believe it's going to happen as well. You know, there was some, you know, I thought at some point there was some feeling that it wouldn't get done. But I think the more and more we see Sony post these incredible numbers, like for instance, God of War, over 11 million copies sold. That's a big deal considering that game was released late last year, holiday of last year. I believe it came out in November. Yeah. That's huge.
Bundles
that's
help.
Big numbers.
Those bundles help, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, no, listen.
Can I say something though about those bundles? Real talk.
Yeah, sure.
Who's buying the guy? Because I hear this all the time. I gotta say, who's buying these bundles? And they're like, I don't want God of War. You know.
I don't know anyone that would say they don't want God of War.
You know, it's funny you say that though. Yeah. I bought the God of War bundle and I held off from the Horizon bundle.
Yeah,
well, I said I don't want the Horizon bundle.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, I don't want to play God of War. I'm like, well, you're a loony.
I didn't want the Horizon bundle. And I want the God of War bundle. So it just depends on your person. So some people just like God of War jumping, but still have that issue of my Kratos jumps.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
If some people had a choice, Joe, they may come out at you and say, "Well, if I could just buy the system for $50 less without that bundle in there, and then I can pick what games I wanted, and maybe someday pick up that other game at a discounted price a couple years from now," they may be doing that. If you're on a budget, it makes a difference. That's all.
I would argue if you're on a budget, you're not buying a $500 and something console.
Well,
right?
You can argue, but sometimes
but
things happen.
With that, like I bet there's like a few out there, but it's like some people I've seen on Twitter make it like that's half the sales when like
no, I mean I will say it's
I would say like it's like with the Gears bundle, like God knows when there's a Xbox Series X version of like Gear 6, right? I'm buying that console. I have a Series.
No, I'm just saying that like Sony's they've been doing some fugaziness. I will say that. Obviously, Horizon did not sell like it should have for a multitude of reasons. Mm-hmm. I don't like it as much as the original. I had a lot of bugs, and people are like, God, I didn't have any bugs. Some people don't. My brother beat it and said the story was the worst he's ever played. He's not going to buy the third one. It's very
divisive. That story.
Yeah, it's he hated it, and he played through it. And he's a big fan of Horizon. He hated the story. He goes, I don't even know what they do after this. I was like, don't tell me. I still want to beat the game, but look, at the end of the day, Sony's making bank. Yeah. They're making money hand over fist. I don't know. We're going to get into PSVR, which I think it's very telling what's going to happen with their near $700 device that no one's going to buy because they can say whatever they want. Oh, we didn't cut our numbers. I said this in the opening, Joe. As of 9/17 this morning, I went to PlayStation.com to see if I could still pre-order it and get
You
it delivered.
can.
And sure enough, it's there. The whole bundle. Yeah, sure. It's $661 in change. I get free shipping if I want, which is pretty cool. But I'm not buying it. So there's that. But I want to get Fuzzy before we come to Joe. Fuzzy, listen, you've heard everyone so far. I'm interested to get your opinion because obviously, NVIDIA we learned that they came out and they said that they're not against the deal, but they have some concern, which is not surprising because Microsoft went up against them in the ARM deal, and they were one of the proponents on getting that deal crushed. Which, by all rights, it should have went that way because they would have had 93% of the market.
Yep.
You can't do that. That's a monopoly. But Sony, or SIE proper, they're the ones. Jim Ryan has been out there since inception, since the announcement of this deal. Even though he's been promised Call of Duty for 10 years and all these different things, he does not want this deal going through. He was out flying around last Wednesday, here, there, and everywhere to everybody in the EU, which he obviously has connections with because that's where he was originally from. And we get these numbers, and Sony's one of the top producers when it comes to record profits. Pretty hard to argue why this deal should be blocked, but somehow he figures that he's going to go out and do his due diligence as the lead speaker for PlayStation. I think it's ridiculous. What do you think?
It's like the Naked Gun meme when you see the guy's like, oh, there's nothing to see here.
Oh, he's this. He's like
he wants those,
and
numbers
everything's exploding behind him. Yeah.
Just forget about those for right now because that's before this whole acquisition thing. So there's a chance that we could seriously be hurt by this. But no, seriously, they knocked it out of the park as far as overall sales for that quarter. And considering one of their biggest IPs was released and they had a lot more inventory or a lot more allocation as far as the consoles.
Well, that makes sense.
Like
obviously they were gonna start building up to For God of War, and it sold. It sold because of it.
Yeah, it was like the perfect storm. You have more consoles. You have your biggest title. You're down to you're definitely going to be making some profit or making some sales at that point. But as far as him still making the trips to Brussels and whatnot, it's all in the name of trying to maintain that position so you can keep those profits. I mean, it's understandable. I'm not the biggest fan of it because it's like, what are you doing here? It's like you're trying to block one side, but hey, oh no, we're all for timed exclusives and having it where we try to make sure that these things are taken up for 2 years as opposed to some of the timed exclusives of our competitors being like anywhere from 30 days to 6 months type of thing. But all in the name of business. But it's funny to me, given that after the quarter news for Microsoft and the layoffs and having a previous year where they did a lot better in that quarter, so it definitely shows not having software available how it's going to hit hard. But it's just one of those things where now hopefully the FTC, the EU, and the CMA take a I wouldn't say a more stringent look, but take and look at the whole picture as far as with this acquisition. Is it really going to hurt PlayStation when they're doing this type of quarterly numbers where a lot of other industries are down all around and these guys are up? I think it's going to probably hurt their complaint at this point, but we'll see how it goes. But Jim Ryan's always going to try to save, well, not really save face, but try to do best for his platform. But at this point, hopefully they kind of laugh him out the building. It's like, you made more money this quarter than last quarter and more than you did, a significant percentage over the previous year. Yeah. Next type of thing. So we'll see.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think that when you look at what they've done, specifically, I mean, you cannot argue that they had some powerful software during the holiday. They just released their controller. My brother absolutely loves it. I'm still holding off on it. Maybe I'll catch it on sale at some point. He's really liking it. He said the battery life is awful. He has to play with it plugged in because after 5 hours it's dead. Which is
what game's he playing?
I don't know, to be honest with you, but I know I think he's playing the Division 2 is what he's been. That and Destiny 2 he's been playing with the controller. because those are two of his favorite games. And after 5 hours, that controller's dead. So he plays with it plugged in.
Not mine, baby.
So, but listen,
Look at this.
Joe,
Look at this.
before I get to you, brother, I got to
Boss.
thank CR Wimpy once again for a very generous $10 super chat this time. And he says, do people actually think a $1 trillion company that backs the U.S. military would get blocked over video games? LOL. I mean, I know that they have a lot of hands and a lot of cookie jars. I mean, there was some question, but Joe, let's get to you, brother.
Sure.
You are a proper PlayStation representative. You have an amazing channel called The Trophy Room that you talk. You and your buddy are out there every week doing your show. We learned last week that Jim Ryan was out there doing what he's supposed to do. Obviously, you can't argue that he is supposed to be out there trying to, for the betterment of his company that he works for, which is, of course, Sony Interactive Entertainment, specifically the PlayStation division. But it's hard to take him serious when the numbers for the third quarter come in and they are on the cusp of not only having some incredible, one of the best numbers in the business, but they just launched their elite style controller, which a lot of people really like. And they have their VR unit coming out this month, as a matter of fact. Talk about it, brother.
Boy. I could talk. When we got to that PlayStation VR2 talk.
We're going to segue in. We're going to get your opinion, and we're going to let you go right into that.
Okay. So Jim Ryan, he went to Brussels. He's like, "Oh, please, Europe, please, don't do this." That's what pretty much it's the essentials, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if these numbers necessarily hurt or I'm not a lawyer. So I don't know if they necessarily hurt or help either Sony or Xbox's argument, because I would assume Sony's argument is these are great numbers right now. We just got a bonus shipment of PlayStation 5s, and we just fixed our shipment woes, and that's what we see here. This is our most popular IP. That's great and dandy, but what we're arguing is for the future, not the present. So I think someone could out-lawyer me with those words, but they could be we're arguing about the future, not the present here and now. Once we've fixed our shipment woes and have our most popular IP out there, we're talking about the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years of what this deal could do. I think is probably what Jimbo's argument is. Is it effective? Is he doing his job? Yes, right? No one's arguing that. This is what he's literally paid to do, but it's still happening. This deal is still gonna happen. I don't see it in a world where it doesn't, and I also don't see it in a world where it doesn't, but there's there's some conditions around it as well. This is a massive deal. This is a $70 billion deal. There's not a lot of those out there that don't have just a carte blanche of do whatever the hell you want between two publicly traded companies. So to me, this thing's happening. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and it's a matter of what conditions that Microsoft laid out. And we've even seen Microsoft publicly say, and listen, we know you want conditions. I think their word is we are looking for a path forward. So they've been telegraphing they are prepared to talk, and they have been prepared to talk for a while now. So I think this deal happens. It's just what's the conditions of which it happens. And is Sony evil for doing this now? They're just protecting their bottom line, as is Microsoft, trying to help their bottom line. I think Jim Ryan's, if I'm in the brain of Jimbo, he's probably thinking, well, if I could kill this deal, I could severely hurt the competition, which is Microsoft, because then they have to reevaluate their future. And if I'm Jimbo, I want to make sure that my company is in a position of strength going forward. So if I'm fighting $1 trillion company, as someone put in the chat, right? If I'm fighting $1 trillion company, I need to make that thing bleed. Because that competitor has way more cash flow than I have and way more resources to do things than I do. So if I have the opportunity to hurt or even prevent that future from happening, absolutely I'm gonna do it. So I can understand the rationale. I could even maybe sympathize with it a little bit, but it's still happening. And whether I want the deal, there or not, it's happening. So I don't think that, like, these numbers hurt Sony's chances or help Sony's chances. I definitely feel like, though, it is the same song and dance we've seen for months of, like, everybody thinks it's going to happen. Everybody thinks there's going to be conditions. And that's where I think everything is at the end of the day. Again, I can understand where Jimbo's at. But I don't agree with it. I think this deal goes through and there's going to be a condition like, yeah, maybe Call of Duty stays on PlayStation. Maybe there's another game like, I don't know, like Diablo or something that stays on PlayStation. But I do think this deal is over. Or sorry, this deal is done, and I think it's gonna go in the camp of PlayStation. I'm sorry, of Xbox.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It is what it is. I don't think these quarterly numbers do much other than cement the fact that PlayStation had a good quarter. I think their argument is like, hey, look, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, which
so that's a great, Joe, that's a great point. But I think that my counter to that would be Sony. Listen, so if you don't like Sony, I hear you. Yeah. Like I like PlayStation. I hate Sony because of the things that they do. Yeah. I've said that before. I've actually pulled that right out of Mag's point of view because
their TVs are too expensive.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. But Joe, speaking of expensive, let's segue into PlayStation VR 2.0. Now, I've said this in the opening, and I will reiterate it for any of the over 400 people that are just tuning in. I was a huge proponent for PlayStation VR 1. The headset was the most comfortable out of all of them, especially if you wear glasses like I do. I enjoyed it so much that I bought the first one. Yeah. In every launch game. And then when the HDR pass-through came out, I sold that privately and bought that. Yeah. And then for many, many years, I would get dripped games. You get a Moss, you get an Astro Rocks, you get a Beat Saber, you get the Star Wars game in there. So they drip fed you like Sony does. And then they pretty much went like this, as Sony has done with hardware in the past. Yeah. And then we learned that PlayStation VR 1 not compatible with PlayStation VR 2. So I got stuck with 30 games that I had to sell. I had physical games. I sold them. You know how much I got for those 30 games? I want to say it had to be about
$2.
Like $27 or something like that. And some of them I had to throw into recycling because we don't take those. I was like, okay, whatever. So I'm not investing in PlayStation VR 2.0 for the reason of a lot of shovelware at launch, which is, they have the big one, they have their first party big one, and I'm sure it's going to be really cool. But Joe, let's talk that price, bro. I mean, $661 and change without shipping, and that's after tax. That's a hard ask when it costs more than the console that it needs to play.
Yeah. This thing is, So first off, I like what our good friend Ains has said. He's like, I don't care like the price. Like, no, I want the best thing. Give me the best thing. Give me give me the top of the line. I don't care. This man would be so crazy. He's like, give me a Series X2. Give me all the teraflips and teraskips or whatever. I honestly, I feel like the price is one of the smaller problems compared to the amount of marketing that they've put out for this thing. And it's infuriating as a PlayStation fan and as an adopter of PSVR. The first one, I was there at launch day. I bought, the $400, was it $500 at the time?
Bundle $499 when it came out. Yeah, $500. Yep.
Yeah. So to me, it's like, that one was more expensive than the PS4 at the time, but we bought it because this was a cool piece of tech that nobody, it felt experimental. And I love what Shuhei said. Like, this is our PS1. We don't know what the future of this thing is, but we just see that there's some demand for it. So we're going to explore. And
plus that Batman game.
Ooh-wee.
I really like that, dude.
So to me, I was just like, oh, this is this is cool, this is experimental, and this could fail. And like, I love them beating around the bush of like, this, we don't know what this is. It felt exciting. It felt like for the first time in a very long time, a tech company was doing something bold, right? Or at least a game company doing something bold. So, fast forward, PSVR is a very dated piece of tech. It is now, knowing what we know, it's like, well, if you want good tracking, you got to turn the lights off, because those light bars are not gonna do it for you. The lack of PSVR 1 backwards compatibility, it depending on who the developer is or who the publisher is, and this is the thing that actually annoys me more, you'll get a free upgrade for. So like certain games like Pistol Whip, hey, you got the PSVR 1 version, no need to buy it again. But if you're a game like Tetris Effect, you will have an upgrade fee of like $10.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to discuss with developers why that's the case. So like this month in February, we're trying our best to bring in PSVR 2 developers and asking them some fun, interesting questions that we have not seen asked, and we haven't seen answered in the square. So we have some pretty big developers coming on to talk about PSVR 2. And if you like some hard-hitting journalism from time to time, definitely check the trophy room out in the next coming weeks, because it's going to be very interesting. Nonetheless, though, it sucks that a small time PlayStation podcast is the the place where you're gonna get all this PS2 news, PSVR 2 news, because PlayStation's done no marketing for this goddamn thing.
No.
And that's the thing that infuriates us. We've said it time and time again. Where's the state of play? Why was this revealed in a blog post? I know that, VR doesn't show great in a state of play, but if you're, showing this off to the people that matter, come on. They understand. They know what VR is. Go show that.
Yes.
Go show us this, why we should be excited. Treat this like you would if it was your big hardware, like you did with PSVR proper. And that's the thing that's infuriating, is that we are 4 weeks out, less than, and we have no hype. None whatsoever for this thing. No excitement. And yeah, you could still go out there and pre-order this thing. The fact that this Edge controller ran out of pre-orders in the first week.
Dude, the first week you couldn't get, if you didn't pre-order it, you could not get it. That is correct. You could not
get it.
Yes.
And then they replenished the stock. But to see PSVR 2 still sit there, me, who is excited for the tech, who is going to buy it day one, because A, I'm done with money. 2, I do cover this thing. I do cover PlayStation, so there's...
Well, for your channel, you need it, dude. That's a fact.
But like, I want to champion these devs that are literally risking it all on this hardware because they think it's groundbreaking. It's infuriating. It's infuriating to hear the very positive things out of Horizon Forbidden or Call of the Mountain, the extremely positive things that I heard about Gran Turismo 7, and go, okay, those are great things to hear. Let me see that. Why is it coming from IGN, or why is it coming from PS Lifestyle? It should be coming from PlayStation.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not the price, because I don't think this thing, look, their target, we got 32 million PS5s in the wild right now.
Yes.
This thing is not, from what even like VR, like people behind the scenes have told me, VR is not this thing that is going to take the world by storm. This is a thing that is going to be invested tech for years to come, for that time where it actually breaks the zeitgeist, when the technology becomes so they're able to shrink the tech down to such an extent where you can wear it comfortably and you don't need all those doodads on. So a lot of these companies are investing in the tech for it to one day pop off. PSVR 2 probably won't be it, just like the Oculus, it won't be it right now, but that's why they're investing in the tech, and they're getting people excited in that notion of VR and what's to come, and the groundbreaking things that happen when you're getting to that that point where it's just a pair of glasses you're wearing. So for me, it's just like, we understand this tech is still young, but that's not an excuse not to back this thing, and it's not an excuse not to market this thing. You're right. Like, Call of the Mountain is the only PlayStation first party game, new first party game that we know of. Like then we got GT7, but that's a game we know. That's a mode, right? So to me, I'm aggravated by the lack of marketing more than price. I am infuriated that they're not treating this thing like they would the PS5. That there's new marketing for the PS5 just because they solved the shipment issue, right? But there's nothing for the PSVR. And even like you've seen a big Leviathan axe, you've seen Thor's hammer, you see a giant PlayStation 5 in London Square. Where's their VR helmet in there? I don't know. It's aggravating. And I'm going all over the place. I'm just fed up.
No, I mean, it makes sense. Again, we're not going to spend too much time on the topic simply because there's not a lot. But people are asking in the chat how many units were sold for PlayStation VR. Now, I did get some numbers. They go back only to 2020, where pretty much they let it die on the vine. And at that point, they had sold over 5 million units. Now, it could be a little bit more, could be closer to 6 for all we know, from 2020 where they stopped to 2023, which is right now. So at best, it's 6 million.
And at worst, it's like 4. And again, like that's why like a lot of people when we're taking a look at like VR numbers, is like this is a small niche, and what we're trying to see or what companies are trying to do, there is an end game for this. They're investing in this tech, knowing that they're going to lose money on this hardware, on this software, but they're hoping in the long term that they're able to crack a much wider marketplace for them. So like, Oculus is the biggest piece of VR tech out there. They're the ones that are really trying to push it a lot. And we just saw them recently post a whole bunch of, layoffs because right now the current economic situation calls for less investment
and a price increase.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Oh God, the price increases across the goddamn board aren't helping anybody right now. So it's, again, it's just a damn shame. This thing is not going to set the world on fire. This isn't going to be your God of War that sells 11 million units, plus the 5 people that bought it for I don't know, Astro's Playroom. But like, it is going to be a small, what's the word? I'll just say a small niche segment, but that's fine. Not everything has to set the world on fire. I would just like the people that are into it and want to celebrate it have the ability to. And for the developers that are pouring their time, their souls, their energy into this product to be respected. That's it.
Yeah,
have their time, earned. Because this is not, at the end of the day, most of these games coming out for PSVR 2, they're not PlayStation. These are small indie companies.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be just like little experiences, the big ones that you want from first party. I don't know how often you're going to get, but Crispy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. A pass or fail for this thing? Is this DOA on arrival?
I think Joe said it all. I mean, you could say what you want. Niche is probably the word to use, but also, and this is where kind of. I knew I was going to be on today, so I was talking to the teenager about this because he's a huge into VR, and I was like, "What do you think about this thing?" And he's like, "Dude, like, we don't have a PlayStation 5 right now. Like, if it was somehow compatible with like the older PlayStation, we had one at one point." But he's looking at me, and he's like, "I would just buy like something for my PC at this point, like." Yeah. I don't want to spend, over $1,000 to play this. You know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those things. Like, I get it, Joe. Like, you say it's just right, but he's huge into VR. He has absolutely zero interest in this thing at all. Yeah. You know what I mean? He has the Quest 2. That's all he's good with it. And he also said he looked at Call of the Mountain and he wasn't that impressed with it. You know what I mean? And if that's your huge selling point, at least for this time being, it's not good. Like he's like this is like stuff that I was playing at the beginning of when I got it. He's like, this is not good. Like, and he's like, the price point is whatever, but I would buy something else. So like, because I was looking at, maybe I get him for Christmas, something like, figure out something. He's been awesome, and it's just like he has no interest. He's like, give me a new graphics card or something like that, and I'm like, I look at it, and you're right, the marketing hasn't been there. I saw like one ad on YouTube, like once, like it never showed up again. And
if
I
this
watch a lot
thing
of
was also on
content.
PC, like if this thing was compatible on PC, I think this would be a different.
It would be a much different thing, dude. 100%. There would be a ton. I actually think, Joe,
great point.
You would sell more to PC people than you would be to actually PlayStation 5 owners.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
if this was PC, for sure.
Yeah, it should
and
be
unfortunately,
I mean, it should have been somewhat standalone in a way. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be completely, like it could still have the wire. Like I've heard plenty of people, they have, thousands of dollars, the big, like crazy good ones. And there's still a wire there. So, I've kind of reeling myself back on the wire thing. But I also think, at that price point, and you're kind of trying to go for this console gamer type thing, and then adding, let's say, you really like VR, but you add on that console part of it, or vice versa. I think that hurts it. And also, the support of the previous generation could have been a lot better. And you could say what you want, but when Xbox said backwards compatibility, people went crazy, and Game Pass subscriptions went up a lot. And it's one of those things, like if you supported the old tech and did your best to make it worthy of the new tech, and you could still for no charge to push this niche product, you need to like bring it all together. And I feel like they're just like, we're just gonna put it out there, and we're not gonna do much more. And that's I feel your frustration, because like I feel like, what everybody says about, the tech involved in that thing, it's like you could have done more to make it successful. And I feel like it's just going to sit there, and you're going to get, once in a while, a big game come out, but it's just going to sit there until the price drops. And that sucks, because I think they have something here, but it's just not quite there yet. And they're just I feel like they're just rushing it out, which just, it's never good. I mean, Xbox has done stuff like this. PlayStation,
yes, and I don't like it.
It's bad.
And honestly, and Crispy, you said something. There's a very short tangent, I promise, because I know I spent hours here. But like, if they were just truthful too about backwards compatibility, just going like, "Hey, listen, again, like what we said with PSVR echoes here of just like when we first put out PSVR, we did not know where this thing was gonna go, and what tech." would be at the forefront. The way our games were designed for PSVR was not for the future. And you could just be, sorry, one sec. You could be open and honest with them, going like, in order to give you backwards compatibility, it's just not possible because of the tracking with the PSVR made it so that you have to do it in a system and software level, game by game. And if they were just like, and that means that's more effort for the developer, so we're giving that over to them, like pretty much going, hey, we'll let them decide because this is development work for them. That would be like, again, way more better version to put out there than what I just said. But like, then there's like a rationale on the consumer going, okay, that's at least a valid excuse, which is the case. It's just like a lot of these games were programmed with the dumb, controllers, and so to change it through a software level of like how this thing tracks, that's a lot of development time. So I would understand if that was the case, but you didn't give us that. You just gave us some dumb generic one-line thing trying to hide it. There's just a lot that pisses me off.
I put it to this way, and we're going to get everyone's point, but don't worry, folks. We're still talking about Titanfall. We're going to get into it because some information came out. It sounded cool what they wanted to do. Idlesoft put out another post this morning that I added to the DM that I will read. I'm incredibly saddened by this Titanfall, folks. Honestly, there are only a few new IPs from last gen that completely jump off the page for me. Number one of those IPs is Titanfall. I have all the collector's editions. I got the helmet. I got the big mech sitting up over here. I have thousands of hours in this game. Absolutely one of my favorite games of all time, Titanfall 1 and 2. The fact that we're not getting a 3, or at least we think we're not getting a 3, is gross. I don't understand how Apex Legends. Listen, folks, I get it's big. I played it. I think the characters are dumb. I think that it's goofy. I understand that if you're into that, battle royale three-man team thing, and it's good for you, awesome. This is the kind of game I want to play. You see on your screen right here. And to make matters even more puzzling, did anyone play the Titanfall 2 campaign? Literally, probably some of the best work that Respawn has ever freaking done. And we don't know if we're going to get a third one. I don't understand how does this happen? But we'll talk about it momentarily. Let's get to, I want to catch up on 3 super chats, and we'll get everyone's quick opinion on PlayStation VR. Sir X-Man, generous friend of the program, drops a $2 super chat and says he played Titanfall the other day, and it's still awesome. Indeed, it is. I put it on all the time, and it still has people playing it, which is dope. Creative Vibes drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, hey, everyone, enjoying Hi-Fi Rush. Appreciate y'all. Well, thank you so much for being here, brother. Thank you for the generosity. And I'm at the Wolf Boss, which I'm close to beating that game. I had to walk away from Dead Space to finish it because Hi-Fi Rush is so good, but Dead Space, oh my God, so freaking good. Holy cow. But Dredd, I want to get your quick opinion on this. Based on what Joe said, based on what Crispy has said, it appears that Sony does not believe in their own investment. So why should we? And the answer is we shouldn't. We should wait for this thing to go on sale if you're still interested, or just wait for it all together, because if Sony isn't putting the messaging and the marketing into their own product, and we just learned that they cut the numbers from 2 million shipped to 1 million shipped, it goes on to tell you that there's no interest in this new piece of tech, even though it's cool. And the fact that we can still pre-order it today, as of 9 o'clock this morning, and have it delivered the day of release, tells you that no one gives a shit. Pardon my French. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are people are still trying to find that third job, because having a second job isn't enough to buy this, that they got to buy get a third job. And that's why they don't have the money to buy this just yet. They haven't been able to, save up. So, no, seriously though. I think, it's just funny, because Joe was talking about the marketing and the lack of, and I think yet again, just like the get a second job joke, I think Sony yet again has eaten their own Cheerios on this one, and believed the hype, just like when they released the PS5 logo and it broke Twitter / the internet.
Yeah, that was with Jim Ryan.
Logo,
that was pretty bad.
I mean?
Yeah,
on a logo release, it's like, really, so, and I think they bought their own hype again, thinking that this is going to do it, and without the marketing, and then just yet again, I'm going to give Joe the kudos on this one, because I'm thinking, why can't they just go ahead and make it BC and this and that? But obviously the controls with the disco sticks and all that need to have modifications. I get it. Okay, so then just say that. Just market it and say, hey, look, you know what? Certain PS4 games will be, or PSVR games from the PS4 era will be BC. However, not by us. It'll be on the developers choosing if they do it or not. We will not do it. Whatever. Say something. And the problem is they're putting in phenomenal tech behind this stuff, and I understand the price increase. I'm okay with it. I'm not that I want to pay that, but I understand that with certain tech, right? Are we not buying the Series X because it's much better, and we're willing to pay the $500 versus the $250 for the Series S or $300, whatever the price is at the time, right? We're willing to spend the extra money because it's a better console. It's the same thing. It just has more oomph behind it. Other than that, it's not really that much of a better console. It's the same same technology, just more of it. You know, this is the same thing. It's VR, just more of it, better. You know, less. What am I thinking here? Less possibilities for seasickness, because you know, with the screens being much faster, the frame rates,
Yeah.
you know, will be a little bit more compatible with more people per se, so that way you can get into it easier. You know, there's a reason why it's that much more expensive. Yes, are they greedy? I say so, but I would be greedy too if it was my stuff that I think that it was worth that much money. You know, you're going to put the value that you think that it's worth. The public will decide if it is or not. And obviously the public is saying, no, I'm not spending that $700. I'm not spending this for this thing, because yet again, whatever their reasoning is, they don't seem that it's worth it. Why would they do that if they don't think that it's worth it? That's why your numbers are half. They have to go back to the realization. If you're not pushing it, you're not promoting it, and you're not saying, hey, look, you know, because what did you do? You just had to sell everything you had for pennies, right?
Yeah.
That's not a
That's
good
why
feeling.
I won't reinvest in it. I'm not doing it. I am not doing that again.
That's not a good feeling. That's not trust. They lost your trust on this.
Yep.
They lost your heart. You know, that you had the love for this, for the original VR. And now you're like, nope, I don't trust it. I don't love it no more. I'm moving on. I'm not coming back. There's no reason for it. You know, and like with Crispy saying, you know, his kid, no interest in it. It's better than some of the stuff that they have out there, but without having, I don't know, access to PC, access to you know, P is in personal computer, and then BC, like I said before, backwards compatible. At least the ability to do that, you know, without all that, you just made this kick-ass hardware useless. Nobody's going to want it, and it's proven nobody wants it.
No, I agree,
Yeah.
and you right on spot on. Nobody wants it, because if they did, you wouldn't be able to find the pre-orders, and you still can, which is ridiculous. What, Dave? Let's get your opinion on this, brother. PlayStation VR overpriced. It looks like it's going to be DOA at launch. Sony isn't doing much marketing on it, which means, in my opinion, they believe it's going to be dead on arrival. And what does that say to you as a consumer? You want me to invest near $700 on top of buying a $550 PlayStation 5? So after tax, you're talking about almost $1,300 for both pieces of tech. And again, the tech is great. It's just the pricing and the dedication on keeping good games, you know, specifically first party games, a part of the conversation. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Talk about it.
Well, when is it coming out? When's that released?
I think it's the end of February, if I'm not mistaken.
End of February. Okay. So I mean, they still have time for a little bit of a last minute push, I guess, if they wanted to. But it's expensive to the point to where I don't know. My wife gets real sick with 3D stuff. You know, she's a big 2D side scroller. So, and VR to me, it has never been great.
Yeah, it's February 22nd.
Yeah. So to me, it's I'm not getting it, and really, honestly, couldn't really care anything about it. But we'll say that you know, it's just too expensive. It doesn't need to be that expensive. It doesn't. It really doesn't. There's got to be ways that they can cut costs, or ways they can, you know, get you in the product. If it's that expensive, then maybe it came out too soon, because they really needed to bring the price down. And in the early adopters, you know, maybe they're going to be all over it, and that will maybe eventually bring the price reasonable at some point in the future. But it's just, I don't know. To me, it's I can't justify any reason to get that. And you said yourself, the older system, I mean, the older VR, you enjoyed it. You had a great collection of it.
Yeah.
But then if you want to upgrade, you have to sell all your stuff. So it's because it wasn't backwards compatible. I get reason to why it wasn't backwards compatible, but that still doesn't make it ease the burden on the consumer. So and that's really what about it. If it's not worth buying, it's not worth buying. I mean, Asante is a huge fan of
He
VR.
canceled his,
One of
dude.
the biggest.
Yes.
And he canceled his.
Yep.
And he said because he can't afford that right now. It's just not worth it, to him. There is a recession going on. There is money is tight for some people. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, in the long run, are they gonna, have the I guess the benefit of being able to say, PlayStation has VR. Cool. There is probably a way to where it can be worked on PC at a later date. It'll have to be either hacked or there'll have to be a device that goes in between the 2. In other words, something that will have to plug into and then plug into your computer. Sony doesn't, they want it on their platform and their platform alone. That's the way they've been. They kicking and screaming to get them on to get it on PC, any of their games on PC. So, and I believe one of their games that was coming out had like a couple of week delay. They just announced earlier. So,
Last of Us, yeah.
The Last of Us, yeah, just had a slight delay. But even then, I don't know. That to me, VR is a waste of time. But it's just me. I know I understand why people like it and people love it, and that's cool. Good for them. But there you go. Sorry, man. I'm not productive on that one.
No. Listen, I'd like to take, dude. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Fuzzy, let's get your hot take opinion on this, and then we're going to come right back to you regarding Titanfall 3, the news that we just learned. Very disappointing. I have been on any chance I get. I can't DM him, but because he doesn't know me personally. But I'm a big fan of Vince Zampella. I think what happened to him at Activision and the way that they turned around a new company in Respawn, anything that they have made prior to starting this new studio, it's been gold. Right, yeah. The new Star Wars got a bit of delay, and that's fine because there's too many freaking games anyway, so that's okay. But the fact that we don't have a Titanfall 3 is very disappointing. We'll get your opinion on that on the back end of PlayStation VR 2.0. Yeah. I mean, are you surprised that there's no interest in it? Is it the current market situation with finance, or is it just the device itself?
I think it's a little bit of all the above. Like for me, I missed out on PSVR 1 primarily because there was only really 2 games that caught my interest. And one I already owned, which was Drive Club. They're doing the same thing with GT, which I have interest in it. But then Farpoint was the only real title for PSVR 1 that was worth it for me, but not worth it.
That's the one that was like Mass Effect, the space one, right?
Yeah.
I beat that. That was phenomenal, dude. Phenomenal. Yeah.
So the big thing for me with PSVR 2, they need, at least for me, more titles before I'm gonna cough up $550 to $600 for it. As a parent that bought 2 Quest 2s for my sons, I was hoping I would have been day one on this had they said, hey, unlike the first PSVR 1 where you had to Hackintosh it kind of deal for PS compatible or PC compatibility, right out of the box, this is PC compatible, day one buy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It would have been a done deal because that would have made more sense considering that they're moving more towards, I guess, swooning the swooning the PC customer base with putting some of their titles on PC. Make the PSVR work on both the PS as well as the PC, and you're definitely going to have a broader audience. And you need to have those same titles more than just Beat Saber that are on Quest. Like there's Geronimo, which is a game I'm kind of waiting on that's on Steam for wish listing. It's coming to, I guess, VR for Steam soon. And then there's Onward, which is an existing game, which is one that I would actually purchase going with the PSVR 2 if it was going to be like a PC compatible thing right off the bat. So I agree with Joe on the marketing. They probably should have done a better job and definitely better explaining on the reasoning behind the lack of backwards compatibility. I mean, just
Oh, you mean be honest is what you're
yeah. I mean,
suggesting? Sony? I don't know, man.
You have to be
About
the
Sony being
full
honest.
disclosure.
Yeah.
Transparency. All of that stuff pays dividends with the consumer. And
For
if
me,
you're going to
does,
be
for
quiet
sure.
on stuff, then that leaves people to mumble in the background about, oh, they just want to charge you twice, or oh, it's another one of those cash grab type deals. And it's not, but that's when you say nothing, it's in a vacuum, and that's where you're left as far as with how the narrative goes as far as backwards compatibility. They definitely should have stepped up and said or given a little bit more background or detail as far as that is concerned. But for me right now, PSVR 2 is not for me until they make an effort to make it PC compatible. I mean, that to me would make the most sense. Don't just pigeonhole yourself to your console, which I understand why you're doing it. But if you're going to also try to appeal to the PC customer base, you need to start blending those lines as far as hardware is concerned as well.
Yeah,
that's just
I agree. Good stuff. Listen, I'm going to bring it right back to you, brother, as we go into Titanfall 3. I pulled this from Apex Legends News. It's at Alpha Intel on Twitter. And this is what they had to say, folks. Details of the scrapped Apex Legends single-player game that was in development as per good friend of the program, Jeff Grubby Grub. And now this is not an official Titanfall 3. What I've been putting the pieces together like a good detective does. This does not sound like it was going to be called Titanfall 3.
Right.
It sounds like it was going to be Apex Legends something, which is fine. But I know that they try to cross the blur the lines with Titanfall. Don't do that. It sucks. Sorry. But this does sound interesting. This does sound interesting.
Let
me just read you the report so you know exactly what we're talking about. Again, this is Apex Legends News. It says featured. It was going to feature the mech BT and other Titanfall characters. Rampart brought BT back to life. Players played as Blisk in the game. Legends would have shown up to give you powers inspired by Doom Eternal. And they were going to have the return of the wall running. Are you disappointed that this got canceled? And is there a chance for Titanfall 3?
I'm a bit disappointed it's been canceled in the sense that there was kind of rumors before that there was going to be a blending or a blurring of lines, even though it's technically the same universe as far as Titanfall and Apex Legends. But I figured the best way to transition it is to have a crossover game and then bring out the Titanfall 3. EA is kind of this weird company where they do crazy things sometimes where they release multiple titles at the same time where one kind of, cannibalizes the other type of deal. But I guess there's this trend now where live service games are kind of dwindling or scaling back or dying. So I can kind of see where there is some concern on their end. They also got rid of a couple mobile games as well, but it just seems like Titanfall 3 is not in the cards for some time, and that's a shame. Now it's great that we get Jedi Survivor. Awesome. It's great that we have Vincent Pella working on Battlefield, which should hopefully give us a title or a Battlefield game that we've been asking for, because he tends to have
we can only hope, but it is Vincent Pella. That's all I can say.
So it just seems like right now, I guess whatever projects they had going, just one too many. They want to narrow things down, stay on top of stuff, which is good because EA used to be this company that would just throw stuff out there and then wonder why it died or why nobody bought it, or then they wouldn't have the numbers that they wanted to support stuff like Anthem. So I'm still a little burned about that. But that in any event, a Titanfall 3, do I think it's something in the cards? Yes, but probably not for 5 or 6 years, unfortunately. And it's a shame that they're canceling that kind of crossover that would have, helped blend the lines and build up the hype for Titanfall again. So hopefully they either reconsider or deliver at some point when it, makes sense, I guess.
No, good stuff. Listen, we're very I should say very excited. We have Crying Jim Ryan, who's in the chat right now. Jim, thanks so much for joining us. He says $700 is affordable. Sell your dog, your cat, get a title loan, donate plasma at Sunday morning service, pretend to give an offering, and snatch a handful of bills, and that's how you pay for PlayStation VR 2.0. I mean, that's some
That's how. Listen, that's how Jimbo paid for his college.
That is how
Nobody
you
knows
do it. But listen, folks, I'm going to get everyone's opinion on it. I got to get out of here at 12 exactly today because I had to get up super early this morning. My truck is done. I have to go to pick it up. It's trust me, it's no big deal. I had to spend money on stuff I don't want to spend money on, but it's fine. You know, we have to drive. But Joe, let's get your opinion. You're a multiplayer dude.
Yeah, man.
I don't know where your affinity goes for Titanfall. But we're not getting a Titanfall 3 for a while, if at all. Very disappointing for me. I'm a big fan. I have been a big fan for years. What are your thoughts, man?
This sucks. It sucks because it sounded so damn cool. Like, yeah, I love Apex. I played a ton of it back in the day. I love Titanfall. I've been there since day one. I remember playing it on PC. I remember doing the mod where like I was able to use my DualShock 4 on PC, and I was just annihilating folks. It was great. Titanfall 2 is a great game that got killed because EA
they're dumb. They're like you say, they're dummies. Talk about it. They put it between Call of Duty and Battlefield. Who does that?
I don't know who, but it hurt, right? So, you know, for EA, I think they want to they still want to focus on Battlefield, and they want that to be their shooter. So I think maybe that's a rationale. It's like, hey, listen, we have a futuristic thing. It is called Apex, and for like the single player grounded experience, maybe they see something there with Battlefield. I don't know. But this is another dumb decision, I feel, because we all love Titanfall, and the way that they sold the idea too was just like, hey, Titans are pretty much done. They're kind of looked at like 1950s or 1960s like hot rods. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Like the premise was like, there's not a lot of these out here anymore. You have BT as your buddy, like you have like, the members that kind of like how they would do in like Borderlands when there's a new sequel out there giving you powers to do crazy and cool stuff. Like the whole premise around it seemed awesome. And when I hear Doom Eternal, I'm thinking of like, how do we give energy to a product that deserves that time and love, right? And make it for a modern gamer. So like to me, all of it sounded great. It hurts, but at the same exact time, I'm not angry at EA and I'm not angry at anybody involved. I just hope those people, that they were able to relocate as many folks as they could. Because it's hard out there for big tech right now. So to me, it's like I can't be angry at EA. They never officially announced anything. They never said anything about this.
No, they never did. That's true.
I'm not angry. I'm just it's like I'm a parent. I'm just disappointed.
Good stuff as always. Crispy Bomb, you are someone else that enjoys multiplayer like Joe and myself. We know that you're a Gears guy, but where does Titanfall go on the list for you? Are you disappointed that based on what they did, where they canceled the single player game, which sucks, and we don't even know if we're going to get a Titanfall 3?
I'm actually disappointed. I mean, if you go right now and go and play Titanfall 2, which we've had some epic, awesome community game nights on Titanfall 2, and I literally never picked up the game, and then I jump in. And the mechs and like everything just felt so good. It was smooth. The game ran really, really well. The amount that you had to learn wasn't too hard, considering you're going from possibly wall running to being on a mech to
it all felt
whatever
natural,
it may be.
Right?
Yeah, it was so smooth. Kind of like how I feel about Gears. I mean, really. Like when you're wall bouncing, like once you get that, you're like, oh man, like you can like be on one side of the map and come back to the other. And that's how I started feeling with Titanfall. And I go and look at it and I say, EA, for the love of God, you have to understand that you released Titanfall 2 basically a week before Infinite Warfare came out in 2016.
Ridiculous.
You did the wrong thing because there was a lot of hate for Infinite Warfare from the Call of Duty fans at the time, and they had similar mechanics, and you released it right before. And I mean, as a gamer, like, you put Gears or some other thing in front of me. So some people feel the same way about Call of Duty. Like, hey, like, I might not like what I see, but I'm still gonna buy it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
are.
saying?
Yeah.
And you know, because you're a huge Call of Duty fan, and they're both first-person shooters. You alienated yourself. And I beg you, EA, Vince, whoever, Respawn, whoever can speak up, you need a proper Titanfall 3. You know what? If you want to meld together, I say you meld together Apex through Titanfall 3. And it becomes something different. And it becomes, you know, that's your mode, kind of like everybody's saying.
Each one of their
Halo's trying to
wacky
do.
characters should have their own mech.
Yeah.
And
Right?
that's
Like they have-
that, you know, these are the type of things, like, you gotta start thinking, because us gamers, we are a pie in the sky a lot of times. We're like, hey, this can go this way. You just gotta make it right. And it's one of those things, like, you look at the Last of Us series, you say, how did they do a video game adaptation? Sony did it right. Okay, people? Like, Halo series wasn't bad, but man, Sony knows how to, you know, really
dreadful.
go there. He doesn't like it.
No, we start from scratch. We cancel the whole thing. We don't show Master Chief's ass. He doesn't have sex with an enemy alien.
yeah, it's
None of it.
You know,
they're gonna have. They're gonna. Well, thankfully,
And he keeps his helmet on.
yes, yeah. I tell you, he had his helmet off more than he had it on. It's scary, but
Yeah,
everyone
Sorry,
involved
gotta
with
leave
that
that going.
series is gone. Directors, producers, costume people. They fired everybody. Sorry,
Yep.
the show sucked. I enjoyed it for what it was, and then when the ass cheeks thing happened, I'm like, you know what? Not now. I can't unsee that. Thank you. I'm ruined. Thank you.
So
but
cheeks
you
are
know,
fired
and
too.
but you know, you really, you look at it and you say, like, there is something there. There's not a lot of, I mean, there's no game like Titanfall. Like, in this modern age, there's none. I mean, and it does involve a huge part with the mechs, of course. And that's where I go and say, like, I hope that, you know, they said, you know what, we got to go a little bit bolder. We need to, you know, take these resources we have for this spinoff with Apex and say, you know what, we got to make another Titanfall, because you can meld them together in a certain way if you really wanted to. But it's going to take a lot of, you know, like, you know, thought about the story and how it's going to transpire. And also, don't forget the multiplayer, because that is extremely important. And I think that's why they scrapped it, because I think the multiplayer part of it, like, they couldn't figure out how to meld it and you know,
Monetize
bring
it
the
is more like it.
value.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, that's where we're at this point, which sucks at times. Like, I look at it and I'm like, dude, I remember when we were complaining about, you know, freaking loot boxes and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, we're way beyond that now. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those things, like, I beg you, EA. And I also, I could say this for Anthem as well. Like, you just got to get the right people in the right spots. And if they're passionate about it, something good is probably going to come from it. So, you know, don't give up on both those IPs. I think have huge potential. And, you know, hopefully we actually see a proper Titanfall 3. You know, I mean, that's what
God, from your mouth to the gaming god's ears, I hope so. Dread, let's get your hot take, and then we'll get Dave, and then we'll get everyone out of here. There is a super chat come in from Hey Blinken. He says, 407 weeks ago, marchers assembled. And of course, he's talking about the movement that is marchers, as they're being called, for Starfield in March. I am right there with. I'm a marcher. Pong Soul is a marcher. Mavs from Fun Speculation is a marcher. I hope so. I don't think so. I think I'm going to be disappointed, but it's fine. It's fine. I've been disappointed before. But Dread, let's get your hot take on this, brother. Titanfall 3. It has never been officially announced. We all want it. We've talked about it. Vincent Pella has answered people in Twitter. We have learned that this mesh or mix up of Titanfall and Apex Legends, which I'm not a fan of, was canceled. It was a single player game. What are your thoughts on it? Do we ever get a Titanfall 3?
Yeah, I think we will. It's a shame that this single player game didn't work out. I'm all about expanding the lore, in different ways. It doesn't always have to be the same style of game. Dabble a little bit with different things, get other players interested in the lore, and then you can actually get some cross play from different. You get into this, you might actually like and try out Titanfall. You know what I mean? So it also gets you the hype, right? So with this coming out, builds up the hype for Titanfall 3 because now you know that there's a storyline here, and Titanfall 3 is going to build off of that. There's so much that can happen, and it's sad that to see that they had to cut it out and hopefully work on everything else that they're working on, and Titanfall 3 might be one of them.
I hope so. I mean, they did cut production on the Apex Legends mobile, the Battlefield mobile. They cut production on this game, on the single player game, and a few other things that were brought to everyone's attention. So I would imagine that they now have the room and the means, for that matter, to potentially bring up a Titanfall 3. I hope you're right, brother. I hope you're right.
But like I said, hopefully when they do that, they also don't put them in the middle of a whole bunch of bigger blockbusters that are similar. Titanfall 2 kind of got shafted on that when they did that. But I mean, they've built up a pedigree of talents and trust from us, the games that they push out. So I don't think that there'll be a big deal when it comes to pushing it out. But I hope they do push it out and get it out there for us. I want to see what they can do, especially designed for this tech, the tech that we're using now.
Oh yeah, dude. I think Crispy put it best. There's no game like this. Like, it's so unusual in its form. Because like when you're on foot, you're playing Call of Duty, right? No big deal. But when you're in the mechs, there's no one else doing this, dude. Like, there is no one else doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we've been asking for Mech Assault to come back.
Yes, we sure
in a proper
have.
way. And, we've been asking for all this stuff, but Titanfall just pulled it off. And if they can bring back Titanfall 2, like I said, with today's tech and everything that they've learned, it could be amazing.
It would definitely be pretty dope for sure. Web Dave, let's get your final opinion, and then we will get everyone the H out of here. Dave, I mean, are you a Titanfall fan?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, did you play multiplayer, or did you play single player, or both, for that matter?
Both.
Oh, okay,
Both.
awesome.
Yeah, we need Titanfall. Definitely, dude. I'll tell you, man. It's great. I mean, watch your footage right on the screen. Anybody could just be entranced by this game. It's amazing, every bit of it. And yeah, it's almost like I wish we didn't know that it was in the works and it was canceled, because now we're all like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, it hurts.
It's like, oh my gosh. Somebody suggested, Microsoft buy the IP and make one. That would be awesome. That would be great. I like the ideas of the tie-ins. That would be great too. I mean, Apex and a tie-in. I mean, that would be every character have their mech. Make that a mode. Make it a mech mode. Battle mech assault or something kind of level. Why not? Anything's possible, and they could do so much. It's disappointing. It really is. It's a missed opportunity, and hopefully, all we can just pray to the gamer gods that someday, that it becomes, we can will it into reality. But yeah, I'm with you, Boom, 100%. It's a great game, and every time you play this footage, I get want to go back into it and play it again. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm with you, man. It's something we need.
Appreciate that, brother. And yeah, listen, if you wanna play, if somehow you missed one of the greatest single player stories probably in gaming. And I'm not being facetious. You could probably pick up first of all, if you have Game Pass, you can play it in EA The Vault. It's there. I am telling you, if you are a fan of the Battlefield single player, you're a fan of the Call of Duty single player, it is emotional, it is fun, it is by far one of the best single player experiences that Respawn Entertainment has ever put forth. And I'm talking about even Call of Duty. It outclasses all of them. It's phenomenal. Go freaking play it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I got to get out of here by 12. I'm going to get to the outros. I want to thank over the 400 people that tuned in very early on Friday morning to hang out with us, go over the 3 topics that we got to. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself enough to hit the like button. But more importantly, if you're just finding the channel for the first time, please, for the love of Joe, folks, we are under 300 away from, just a pinch over 300 away from hitting 12K. I'd love to hit it sooner than later. Specifically, we were hoping that we can hit it in January, but obviously it's February. So hopefully we can hit it this month. Consider subscribing to the channel. We do this 5 days a week, 5 different shows, 5 different panels, all great opinions, and always positive, thoughts about how we do things. And we give righteous smoke where it's due. And today Sony deserved it a bit with this ABK shenanigans. But let's start with the outros. Dreadpool, you are at 918 subscribers. You are 82 away from hitting 1,000. We've been on the march for you for a while, folks. If you don't understand, if you're not a content creator, I want to tell you that I ask that you get over and you subscribe to Dreadpool, because if like I said, if you're not a content creator, maybe you can't correlate how important it is to hit the 1K, but it is. It is a milestone in your career that you'll never forget the day that you did it. And Dreadpool puts out some great content. You can find them on the screen everywhere. There's your links for Linktree, for YouTube, for Twitter, for TikTok, for HoverGG. He's also on Wilmy Hood Show on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Gaming Beyond the Box. And obviously, he's here on Fridays. Sell your brand, Dreadpool. Oh, you muted.
There we go. I'm sitting there thanking everybody in the chat. Nobody's hearing me. But yes, as always, thank you everyone in the chat for showing up and supporting all of us, not just Boom, but all of us, So really thank you all. And again, I'm pushing. I got another haunted house that I'm going to go into next week. And I'm hoping to get my media pass for that one and get some video for that. And Husk is still busy working and getting the last Breaking Bread into an edited format versus the 360 format. And we'll be posting all that stuff up as soon as it gets in. So I really appreciate everybody's time and checking it out. Hopefully we'll get this. My birthday's coming up, so maybe we can get some birthday presents,
Absolutely.
So that'd be kind of cool. But again, thanks to everybody for stopping in, Crispy and Joe. And again, obviously the family here, which Crispy is still considered family.
Of course.
But Fuzzy and Web Dave, and yet again, thank you, Boom.
No problem, brother. Listen, we're gonna get you there. I'm gonna put you on my back, and we're gonna cross the finish line together, folks. Listen, there's 289 people here. He's 88 away. There's gotta be at least 88 people here that are not subbed. Drop it in. I'll drop his link in the chat momentarily. Do me a favor, folks. If you trust me, and I believe that you do, because you're here every day of the week, Monday through Friday, throw the dude a sub. You know what I'm saying? And check out his work. Don't pity sub him. Throw it because you want to check out his work. And I guarantee you, it's so unusual, it's so different that you're gonna be like, wow, I really like what this guy's putting down. I'm glad I subbed. Sub this dude. Let's get him to 1K, folks.
I mean, it's heartwarming when you hear somebody say, "I can't wait for the next one."
Yeah, it's great, dude. I love
they're in Australia and they're waiting for it, and they're gonna wait to eat breakfasts and put the headphones on, because when I do the actual podcast in the podcast format, it's in stereo. One person's in one ear, one person's in the other ear. So they're like telling me that they can't wait to hear this. so that way they feel like they're sitting down with us eating. It's like, it blows my mind when you hear stuff like that. So, if you're interested in that, definitely check it out, please.
And Kay Asante, good friend of the program, he just put the chat in there multiple times. Dreadpool, you're up to 920. So there you go. You got some more subs. Creative Monster sub, Michelle Alexandria sub. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
But listen, Web Dave, sell your brand, brother. What big interviews do you have going on? I mean, you did drop one on Monday with Skullsy TV, which was pretty freaking dope. And Skullsy, that's Mr. Bethesda himself. Good stuff all around. What do you got lined up, man? And where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel?
I got several interviews lined up, and they'll be dropping next Monday. I do like the Skullsies is up now, and it's pretty awesome. If you guys can subscribe to my channel as well, I appreciate that. While you're in the subscribing mood, might as well hit me up too. Just kidding. But no, just so you know that me and Retri are doing a show on Sunday, and I think it starts at like 6 p.m.
It's a new show.
Standard. Yeah, it's a new show. Yep. And it's called the Gamers Council. And basically what it is me and him will go at it with a subject, and then everybody that's in the chat will start involving you in the conversation. So it'll be, so definitely you want to come in if you want to participate and talk about gaming and subjects and stuff that are near and dear to your heart. It's going to be not like super chats kind of thing. It's just anybody that's in there that has a good comment and you stay civil. Then we'll definitely be able to get into it. We're going to give it a try and see what happens. It's going to be live, so anything can happen. It's going to last about an hour, so that way you won't miss out on, on any of the shows that are coming up on HBO or any of that kind of stuff. So don't worry. It'll be fun. And anyway, thanks, Boom. I appreciate it. Love the panel. Oh, my gosh. So many amazing content. And every single one of these people that are on the panel are interviewed and in the can. You can watch them at your leisure on demand on my channel, so please go check that out. And fuzzy.
Well, listen, Dave, just to let people know, that's going to be a weekly show on Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Sunday with Retri from Game Pass _daily. And Dave puts out some great content, so yeah, definitely get over there and subscribe for sure. Fuzzy Belvedere, sell your brand, brother. Talk about where the best place for anything and everything racing, and where could people find you on social media?
Just want to thank you for having me on, and it was awesome being on here with you guys today. And thanks to everybody that checked us out live and those who will catch us on replay as well. For anybody who wants to hear anything that I ramble about as far as gaming, just follow me on social media, Twitter and YouTube at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me later on tonight on Xbox Ultimate on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time later on tonight. Shop Podcast on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel, and Xbox Lunch Break Special at 12 noon right here on Double Barrel Gaming on Monday, once again 12 noon. And then look forward to seeing you guys here once again on Breakfast with Boom at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks, brother. And Crispy Bomb, sell your brand, brother. Where can people find you on other podcasts? And more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Gentlemen, always a pleasure. Shout out to the chat. Sub to these guys. Get them up there. Let's go. Come on. At Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live. Find me on Retro Renegades Tuesday night, 7 p.m. We got Primetime Gaming Wednesday, 7 p.m. And the next podcast, 8 p.m. Thursday, when Bot feels like actually doing it. We'll leave it at that. But I just want to say I'm going to be very amped up next week because go Chiefs.
Yeah, Super Bowl Chiefs. Let's see what happens, brother. Well, listen, you're going to enjoy yourself. Does Mahomes win another ring? Or do the Eagles dash their dreams? It's going to be very interesting. One good offense versus one really good defense. Cannot wait for that. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for being here. A big shout out to all the super chats that continue to come in. And we did have one. Did I get the one from Dan the Man Cunningham? Good friend of the program. Hey, Dan, hopefully you're doing well. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, greetings, Boom and panel. Titanfall was Rock'em Sock'em robots brought to life There's nothing like it. Love that game. Yeah, dude. And I got that for Christmas as a kid because, folks, I'm old. So, yes, I had Rock'em Sock'em Robots. It was a red one and a blue one that my brother used to push the buttons and beat the balls off each robot. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's, that's exactly what it was like. But look, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. Mrs. BoomStick and I hope that you have a very happy, safe, and fun weekend. Enjoy gaming wherever you enjoy gaming. And I'll close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.